Hello, this is Jess Brown from Revamped Design, ready for another email critique so that you can learn from other people's campaigns and we can kind of dissect some of the most important factors together. Today, we're going to look at this little appointment reminder that I received. I am using a different email account, so that's why the sender is me and there's got this forward, so just ignore that. Let's take a look at the subject line first. It says, appointment reminder from Revere Health, and I think that's an effective subject line. It doesn't have to be creative or catchy all the time, because there are some emails that you just need to be clear about what the email is, who it's from, and then just go on from there. There's no reason to make this super creative. I would give this a 5 out of 5 just because it's effective. I know exactly what this is about. So diving right into the email itself, there are a couple things right off the bat. First of all, as far as value is concerned, value to me as the receiver, I still think this is pretty much a 5 out of 5 because I do need it. It's really nice for me to know that my appointment is scheduled. I've got the date and the time here. All the information's there that I need. So the value to me is a 5 out of 5. This email is everything that I need for this specific purpose. As far as the call to action, I feel like there are some ways to improve this email. As you can see, the main body is in this little outline box here. And so that to me keeps it super contained. So I feel like everything that I need as a receiver, as somebody who's reading this email, everything should be inside of that box if it's going to be so dramatically boxed out, because everything else is kind of either free floating or then there's this like footer. So I'm wondering why these call to action buttons are actually outside of this more important section. And so I think if we were to just move those up into this section, it might be more effective. It refers to clicking the calendar link below, whereas it already says that this is going to add to my calendar. So we might even be able to get rid of this sentence altogether, since this call to action is clear as to what it will do. So I would give the call to action for this email a 3 out of 5. It just took a little bit too much time for me to find the calls to action right here. And then there's this one as well that's secondary. And we'll go into this with the hierarchy section, but I just feel like these could be better placed and maybe even more pronounced, something that's a little bit more emphasized. And that leads us into hierarchy, the next category of an effective email. And this is a lot more to do with the actual design of the email. We're trying to find the most important things first. It should be easy and clear to me what it is that I'm looking for, and just make it super obvious for me. So I don't even have to read the email if I don't want to. That's kind of the point of hierarchy, is layering. What's most important, let's get that easily accessible to our readers, and then we can fill in the rest with things that are maybe less urgent or less important. First thing I see when I open this is this little square here. I don't see it as being extremely important. A lot of times you do see banners at the top of emails, but since this is centered and it's got all this white space around it, it really draws a lot of attention, especially with all the color up here. And it doesn't really say anything to me about the point of this email. Obviously, this is a symbol for health or medicine and doctors. It's a very, very common symbol for that, at least in the US. However, it doesn't tell me anything visually about how this is an appointment reminder. It doesn't tell me anything that's super useful or relevant. So it's drawing a lot of attention for kind of no reason, especially since it's the only bit of color right at the top of the email. And we don't see any color until we hit the calls to action down here, which is good because the color does draw attention to these guys. But this is even more color, which isn't super effective as far as getting me to read the email, because I'm kind of going from the top to the bottom and not catching anything in between. So as far as hierarchy, I might highlight this as the most important part of the email, this appointment time and date, because that's what I need to know as the user. And there's lots of tools that we can use to create emphasis and really draw the eye to these specific area. We can use font size. We can definitely increase that, since this is going to be the most important part of this entire email. It should be really clear and really big and obvious that that's what we're trying to communicate here. You can use color to do that as well. This dark gray may not be the best just because the contrast isn't very high between the black text and this darker gray bar. So even if we back down on the darkness of the gray, it could be a lighter gray or change up the color. A couple other notes, we might want to change the banner up here, up top, possibly to full width, just because all of this white space makes you draw in right to the center point here. And that's probably not necessary. We can insert more text. We could do just a color. We could do something with the calendar, something that makes it a little bit more relatable to what this is about, and make it full width so that it's not drawing as much attention to just the symbol here. And also, as we talked about with the calls to action, these are a little bit hidden. The hierarchy isn't super clear as to how important these little buttons are. And so I might consider either the placement of the buttons, as we talked about before, moving them up into this little white section up here, or we could do things like change the size as well, maybe add a more recognizable button around here so people know that it's clickable. And by doing that, we can even get rid of this for sure, because it will be very clear if this is kind of a standard button. So overall, I would rate the hierarchy of this email at about 3 out of 5. That might be a little generous, but I do think for the most part, everything is at least laid out in the order that you should be seeing it, other than with the exception of perhaps these call to action buttons, which could probably be up here. It is definitely clear that this is the important part of the email, with a couple of tweaks that this could easily be even more improved in its hierarchy just by increasing the font size. So this last section is urgency or relevancy to me as the opener, the receiver of this email. I did change the date here just for confidentiality and all of that, but it is still literally 6 months away. And so even though I do appreciate knowing that for sure this appointment has been scheduled and it's ready, this isn't actually very urgent or relevant to me right now, because this appointment is literally 6 months away from the time that I'm recording this. So one way we can improve on that is to either change the focus of this email not as a reminder, but more as like a confirmation of the set appointment. So maybe we can insert some logic with our system saying, if the appointment is still more than maybe 2 weeks away, then just send out an email letting the user know that your appointment has been scheduled. It's for this date, and we look forward to seeing you, that kind of a thing. And then you can send this kind of a reminder email a lot closer to the date, maybe a day before the actual appointment, just so that we can stay top of mind and remind the user that their appointment is coming up. So I would give this email about a 2 out of 5 for urgency or relevancy. It is still relevant to me, but it's not super urgent and it can easily be forgotten. So the timing isn't quite right there. So I would give this overall score for this email, as far as effectiveness goes, an 18 out of 25. So that's actually pretty good. Got some room for improvement, but it is an effective email for the most part. That concludes the critique for this email for today. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check us out at revamp-design.com if you're interested in more about email design, development, and strategy. And I'll see you later.